10:35.
Yeah, okay.
Are we missing anyone else other than EJ?
I don't know exactly. So as far as the committee goes, I don't know if Marina used to be on the committee, so I don't know if I'm
I
replacing.
think it's water
her.
resources, because
The water
they're always
resources.
Scott De Leon or
Okay.
Marina.
Scott De Leon is on the call. So that's great. So then I think maybe.
So
we
glad that
should
we've
be
had
good.
this conversation this whole time that Scott was in with us.
We find nothing.
Here's your acronym.
We hide
Show it
nothing
to
from
him.
Scott.
Okay, well then we will get started
And
here.
I say what I say unless Scott says differently, but my recollection is it's water resources is the appointed membership, and it's up to Scott.
Okay.
As who the designee is.
Great.
I could be wrong, but that is my belief.
No, that is correct, and I've appointed Jordan, so.
Oh, great.
Did you know that?
Brand new news to me today.
I'm glad you're here.
Great.
So we'll go ahead and get started. It's 10:36. Our first item is just a quick roll call. We have Dr. Lyons, we have Dr. Velasquez, and we have Supervisor Sabatier, and we have Jordan. Jordan, last name again?
Beaton.
Jordan Beaton. And we are missing Supervisor Crandall at this moment in time, and we will check him in if he comes into the meeting. Next, we have consideration of items not appearing on the posted agenda. I do not have any extra items. Does staff or other board members have any extra items?
No.
Nope.
Okay. I think I will expand when it comes to the Army Corps of Engineers, so I don't think I'll add an item.
Okay.
Next, board action, we have meeting minutes from December 4th, 2023. And obviously, we've all had the chance to take a look at them. And any changes, additions, deletions? If not, gonna open it up for the public. Any changes, additions, or deletions? And if there are no hands up, then I'll bring it back for a motion.
I move that we approve these minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hey.
Aye, okay.
Don't miss out on the opportunity here. All right, motion passes. Item number 4, project aerial parcel acquisition. And I will pass this over to Jordan.
Sure. So we are in escrow right now with that's Madian property. We did close on Narvaez, Rec, and Chandler in this new year and last year. We're still working with our willing sellers and working with the approved appraisals as well, the DWR approved appraisals. Safe Child properties are still with DWR. At some point, maybe Nate can give us an update on that. And properties for sale. The Whitfield property, I believe, is still for sale, and Clear Lake Duck Club is up, and I believe it is in escrow. So they wanted to sell both of their parcels at the same time, not just the lower parcel that is within the project area. So
Did they tell the people? the
I don't know.
status?
I
Because
don't know.
they were told, I remember, because the
Yeah.
original owner
I talked to the
sold to
owner.
them.
yeah,
And they said that they knew about this project.
Yes,
So I think it's a little unethical if they don't know about this project.
that we had that discussion with Whitfield as well. And I don't know, their escrow,
Or the Clear Lake Duck Club?
yeah, yes, they went into escrow very quickly, so we were not able to contact the real estate agent or anything from the moment that it went up on market. So I'm not sure who the buyer is or if they know about it, but basically once that closes, we're gonna send our letter of interest right away.
And they have 30 days to rescind their escrow conclusions anyways.
Okay.
A sale is not complete. There's still a time to.
Good.
We found things that weren't disclosed, and I
Sure.
think that we submit a letter
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yeah,
And
really,
it
because
could-
it's only fair to them. If
Yeah.
They loved it for the wetlands that they could.
I completely agree, and it could just be that they wanna buy all of that and then they're fine with selling the lower portion.
Because it's
you know,
not like
whoever
it's
the
not
buyer
gonna be
is.
wetlands anymore.
Well, it'll be more of a wetlands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with Whitfield, Were they ever willing sellers or were they?
We had trouble making contact and I mean, they're up for sale right now, so.
I would say they're
They're willing
willing,
for the
but
right
not
price.
necessarily negotiating in a land of reality.
And what's the
Oh, okay,
status of the
okay.
appraisal on
Um,
Whitfield?
I don't think that we have.
I don't believe we've ever been
Because
on that
they-
property.
Yep, they've never let us in.
Will they let you in now that it's for sale?
Our,
We can go and escrow, do the appraisal under that cover.
our contractors, touched base with the real estate agent and they basically said that they're not moving at all on the price, so there's no reason to go in for an appraisal because it won't matter.
Except they will get absolutely no offer
Right.
without that. Was that explained to them? That the county is unable to make an
Yes,
offer?
they
Yeah.
did, but they also know that it won't be for that price, that we won't be able to give them that $1.8 million.
But did you tell them about the scenario that happened with Montanos? That,
That was before my time, so I don't know.
so
if
what
I know
happened
that.
is Montanos countered and the county came up with the difference between the appraised value and the counter.
Oh, yes, yes.
Except Montanos was within the world of reality, where it was an extra 100 on the 900,000, not an extra 800 on an $800,000. Yeah, I mean,
But at least
this is pretty
it
extreme.
could get us in,
Yeah.
and then if they're sitting there for years. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no,
how
I
we
could,
got
I could reach
Keathley.
out
They
and
wanted
see.
over $1 million. And we got it for the appraised value because they couldn't sell it.
I mean, they all just need to recognize that it is a losing battle to eventually just say no, because the courts are gonna make the decision eventually. That's how it's gonna have to end up if we have one or two, hopefully only one or two properties left over that are unwilling. The courts are gonna make decisions for all of us rather than
But the
figuring out.
scenario where they can get an offer and counter, they will get more than if it goes through the courts.
I
and
believe,
faster.
if
Yes.
I'm correct, they also had some conversations with Robinson Rancheria, and
That's what I heard.
I think even Robinson was like,
It's too much money.
way out of hand.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a good partnership that for us to look into in
Mhm.
figuring out how to get to that
Mhm.
end goal that we have, rather than trying to stay uniquely us, especially since there are some concepts and ideas of how to engage in tribal communities once we do have ownership of that property, where it's, I mean, we've talked about co-management, we've talked about a bunch of different things, and maybe starting that conversation with Robinson Rancheria and seeing what kind of agreement we have where, hey, if we pitch in this much and you pitch in this much, co-management can occur in a much more equitable way. I don't know, I'm just speaking without really knowing what I'm saying, but there's potentially an opportunity there in that relationship.
Yeah, and see, that's just exploring with the realtor these possibilities that no wheels start unless we can start the process with appraisal. And it does not mean that they have no option beyond the appraised value,
Mhm.
but we can't start that conversation without the appraiser coming in.
Right.
And I know it's probably, and this is being recorded, but whatever. Let's just say that we appraised the property and it's appraised at $800,000,
Right.
half of that. And we ended up negotiating 1.2 million or something like that. Then if we split that between both, we can absolutely use our money for up to $800,000 because we can use for what's appraised.
Right.
And maybe have the separate contract for how Robinson would be able to provide us some of the funds, so that then it's easily affordable for them, easily affordable for us, and there's dual ownership on, I don't know, just again, putting it out there for options and opportunities.
So what's the property owner's name?
That one is Whitfield.
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 Yeah, I mean, it's just,
And that's only half of Bloody Island.
it's a lot more than half.
But still, it's two properties that make up the whole.
Right.
It's maybe 75%, it might be whatever percent, but it's two properties that make up
No,
the
I-
entirety of
yeah.
it.
But it just seems to me saying that we need to get, if you want something to happen,
Mhm.
we need to get on the property for an appraisal. It does not mean that that is the only option.
Right.
That we have other options which have been exercised in the past.
Right.
And that we need that base pot of money.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that's it.
Right, okay, yeah, good idea.
And I don't know what the status is with EJ, with his position that he has right now in Robinson Rancheria. If you need me for anything, just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
So that's your overall 4.1. Do we want to move on to 4.2? Non-willing? Kind of
Oh.
already started. Yeah.
Sorry, 4.1, 4.2, here we go, sorry, guys.
No worries.
Non-willing, this is the same that have been there before, the Heron Property Con, Saba, Hanston and Wilkerson. Wilkerson consultants have been unable to make contact with the property owners previously. I have given Monument kind of direction to let's just wait on non-willing at this time. Let's move on with the willing sellers. And we'll figure that out later.
Okay. If it's possible, because we've been talking about the unwilling sellers for a while.
Yeah,
I don't want to ask for action, but at least information on how to move forward. If next meeting, you can let us know what would the process be to start? Because maybe we could hire Monument. I don't know if they do this type of thing. And since they know the project so well, it would be helpful to add that to a separate contract, because
Yeah.
this contract uses state funds and the other contract would not. And my second question is, so first one is Monument capable of doing these types of things for us for the unwilling sellers? And number two, or do we need to go out for an RFP? Or number two, number two, what funding mechanisms do we have, or what funding sources do we have to utilize to be able to start and initiate that process?
hello, glad you made it.
How's it going?
Okay.
Okay. It's lovely weather yesterday, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, no, my son, he rolled his ankle
Oh,
and, at work, and so I'm trying to get him to understand. He denied any
Oh.
assistance, yeah, and I was like.
Oh.
like,
Oh,
when me and the
that's-
doctor explained, don't ever do that again. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's better because of that.
Right.
Is that possible for you to come back with, and not asking for specifics, but is that possible? A month is
Yes.
good enough, or do you think, or actually, sorry, 2 months?
2 months.
Is that good enough?
I think so. I think
Okay.
I can do some digging in that time.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Everyone else concur on bringing
Yeah,
back
yeah,
that
they
information?
should be, if Monument's familiar with this process, they might give you an idea of who would be involved, what kind of people they would need to bring in.
Yeah.
So if they could come up with a scenario of how they would proceed, that's probably
If
the
this is-
thing to ask for.
if an unwilling situation is something they've
Yeah,
worked with.
yeah,
before,
I think either they'll say, yeah, we know how to do that, certainly.
Or
I
they'll
think
say,
they do.
all right.
My guess is they do.
Yeah,
I imagine they do. There is a process. We're actually starting it on some properties on South Main Street, Soda Bay Road. There's some action that the board needs to take, adopting a resolution of necessity. And yeah, there is a process, and we can certainly work with Monument to come back with an item for you to give you a breakdown of how that all works.
And I appreciate that. My biggest concerns and interest relates to funding.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to start something if we don't have the funding.
Right.
And if we have an understanding of what the process is and maybe what the costs might be, then we can start looking for ways to fund that. I know we're going through a mid-year budget right now. That's going to be way too soon to have that conversation. But it's the idea of what monies are available for us to be able to continue this project.
So one of the challenges we're gonna have, and I'm just laying this out, you know, sometimes when negotiations break down with property owners, you know what the value was. You were able to get an appraisal, and the negotiation breaks down because you just can't get, you know, they want more than what it was appraised for. One of the challenges we're gonna have with this one is if we're not unable to get the appraisals done, And it's similar to the Wilkerson, I think it's Wilkerson, that, you know, they won't let us on the property to get an appraisal done. So not knowing, you know, where the value is going to be a challenge. So anyway, we'll work that out, and we'll get a presentation put together for a future meeting.
Okay, no, I appreciate the difficulties. Definitely nothing is simple, but I don't think anything's impossible. I don't think it's the first time we would be dealing with the property owner who does not want to see us stepping foot on their land, but yet ends up in this type of situation where we're gonna go through eminent domain.
Is it possible to find out the appraised value for the willing sellers that have? Is that available online, or can I?
It is not available online, but I can give you those numbers of the ones that have been approved.
Yeah,
The
because I just
appraisals
want
have
to
been
just
approved.
put them in Excel and look at the
Sure.
price per acre and see what the range is.
Sure, yeah.
Because that way,
I mean, we could already do a comparison to all the other properties.
exactly, that we've got data on a lot of them.
We do, what I'm not a real estate agent, but some of these properties, even though they have similar acreage, they can be different prices because of what's on their property.
Right,
So that's something that I've run into there. We've had some willing sellers say things like, well, hold on, this guy got way more money than me, why?
Yeah.
And I can't explain that because I'm not
Yeah.
a real estate agent, but just keep that in mind. We can do that comparison, but they will be
right, yeah,
different.
with the, because I chair the land
Yeah.
acquisition committee.
Yeah.
And we just, thank God we did Montanos, that's how we got the price we got for the Keithley property.
So I'm doing a Venn diagram here. I want to know of the unwilling sellers,
Mhm.
how many allowed an appraisal?
That's a great question.
And then how many didn't?
I didn't
Okay.
take any of the unwilling.
No, I think that Hanston did.
Oh,
and
that's right.
Possibly,
He wanted a reappraisal
Yes.
and it came in for even less.
oh, I don't know that story. When I spoke with him, he had said that our appraisal was very, very low, and he had spoke to somebody else who gave a much higher appraisal, and I said, oh, okay. Maybe we can revisit this. So we're in small communications with Hanston,
Okay.
but nothing major yet.
And then
But I can find that.
Whitfield's not considered an unwilling.
I took them off
Just 'cause they're
non-willing
selling.
because they are selling their property, like they're willing at a certain price. I
Okay.
changed that.
Okay.
If we want them to stay on the non-willing, I could put them back on there. Just
No,
felt-
no, this is good. They're willing, but they want a lot of coin.
Yeah.
For
A lot of
now-
coin.
But these others we haven't appraised.
Except for Hanston, it sounds like we did.
It's a Hanston we did appraise.
I think so. I don't have that in front of me.
No, no,
I
it's
can
not.
find out.
Yeah, because the discussion I recall was that,
And that could be a part of our 2-month review, just to really dig down into the unwilling.
Sure.
Which ones have been appraised, which ones have not, just to kind of identify the processes that we're gonna need to
Yep.
take.
because with the Keithley property, we got an appraisal, then we agreed on, and then it took so long, DWR required a reappraisal, and it went down 50,000 because it's still the last thing comparable was still the Montanos property, and so nothing had sold that was comparable in that year, so that's why the price went down. So,
And it's also hard for me from looking at the public funding that we're utilizing. We're appraising it at highest value today, even though we're going to basically, I don't mean to say destroy, but we're gonna vacate that possibility of highest value as soon as we open up the levies. And so we don't want to rip somebody off by giving them nothing. So that's the reason why we do it the way we
I was
do
gonna
it.
say, I have no problem with that because
We have to be right to
they're
the
private
people.
property, they have the
Yeah.
right to get,
But if they're unwilling, if they're willing, that's one thing. If they're
Yes.
unwilling, that's a
Yeah.
different situation. for them.
that's true.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on 4.2? We're good? All right, moving on to Badonapati. Thank you. Update from ad hoc committee.
And so it's just me now, right? Because Marina's. But,
Well, it's you and Jordan now.
So,
Today I found out.
last month in December, was seated back on the other tribal council. I was setting those, I was trying to get one for the first week before Marina left.
Yeah.
However, it didn't work out. We had one on the 8th, so it was after Marina had already, the first week she left. So, I did in fact get in touch with them. We have another meeting the 8th, but they weren't
Who's
ready.
the them?
The tribe, Robinson. And so their council or, you know, the tribes, Robinson's council is willing, I'm thinking the 22nd.
Okay,
And so when we meet on our next meeting, I'll let them know that, it'd be you, myself, and who else do you think?
If you want me to be there, I'm happy to be there. I mean, if I'm available.
Yeah.
You said the 22nd?
Oh, yeah, that would be that's the tentative date that I'm shooting for right now. Yeah.
No, if you want me there, I'm happy to be there.
Okay. And then Upper Lake,
Mhm.
that's the phone call. They're usually pretty like, oh, we have a meeting here. They'll tell us, but they're usually really easier to get a, you know, meeting with.
You're being
Okay.
recorded.
Oh, they are. But Robinson should be easy to get into a meeting now too.
Yeah.
Here, I'll just add it in there, tentative.
Well, because the people that show for this meeting on the tribe side are in EPA staff, so they can't say, yes, you can meet, or they can't
They
give that.
can't
Right.
create that
Yeah.
kind of plan.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all for that item. Okay. Let's go back to my agenda here. California Department of Water Resources, DWR, any updates, Jordan?
Other than say Child's still with DWR, I don't have any other updates. We're working through our list of properties that are approved. And that's what I was gonna mention earlier, that offer packages are being created for Coker, Frias, and Berrigan. Yeah. That's it. Nate, if you've got anything to share, you're welcome to say something.
Yeah, we're still trying to meet with Department of General Services. They weren't happy with the appraisal for Seychow.
Okay,
And we're trying to figure out why. And
Huh, okay.
it seems like we followed the same procedure each time. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
get details on that.
okay, thank you.
Appreciate you being with us. If it's possible, next meeting as well, to get a list, if there's an update on the map, if it's possible to update the GIS. I don't know if you have the staffing. I believe Will was the one doing the mapping before.
No, Daniela was.
Daniela was.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you have somebody available. If not, if we could just get at least a list of the properties that are in kind of in the midst of being processed towards being finalized, the ones that are finalized and the ones that are
Sure.
unwilling and willing but have not gone through a transitional process. Just to kind of get that big picture view. Whatever is easiest for you. Map works or Excel spreadsheet works.
I do that.
Can I go back to the land?
Yeah.
That property that's on 20 is still for sale, the 22.8 acres, 975 East State Highway.
Is that the one that you were mentioning during your 4.1, that there's two properties for sale? There's the
The Duck
Wilkerson and then there's the Duck Hunt Club. Is that
It
the one?
might, it's not that one.
No, this has been for sale for a while. Yep, I'm looking on.
I know we submitted it to Marina, not sure if it went to Marina and Scott, but yeah, we've been looking at a property kind of near the gas station almost, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to
Is
get-
it within the
I
actual?
believe it's within the scope of the
It goes
project.
down to Middle Creek.
Oh.
So according to, they sort of penciled it in the map, Middle Creek.
Okay,
If it's possible to send that information over to Jordan.
yeah, could you?
Okay.
That way we make sure it's front and center, because if it wasn't shared.
Yeah.
Then I don't know that we can expect a response. Yes.
I know we're in the real estate world, but I wanted to go to the real world and ask, because Scott and Nate and Eddie are here. How's it looking out there? How are our levies doing?
Well, so I was around Robin Slough and all the area. They look to be, like so I'm driving from Lakeport to Nice, right? On the left side, you can see it filling, but it's not extravagant. In the actual under the bridge, the water seems to be rising pretty significantly. But when you get past where the levees or where the levee would, if it break, the road would break, it would move over. It seemed like, I wouldn't say puddles, but they weren't like, flowing over. Just a lot of branches, trees, things like that. And then going down into the reclamation road is same thing, just a lot of, little bodies here and there, but not, not. anything-
Water bodies.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, everybody.
Water bodies, thank you.
Reclamation area, you never know.
Well, cause you're not, when you're driving through, you're not driving through, like, you're not fording through, you're just going,
Yeah.
Appreciate the
Thank
clarification.
you, cause
I clarified in my own head, but maybe it should have been done verbally.
Okay.
Anything further on this item before we move on? All right, let's go to project area property maintenance. I don't know if I'm the chair, if you're the chair, but I started, so, okay. I'm just gonna keep forging through.
Yeah. We've just continued maintenance with dump site cleanups. I'd like to move forward with, one of the properties still has a structure on it. And I'd like to move forward with actually demo on that structure. I don't know where that last stood. That was before my time, that property being bought.
I mean, if we bought the property, then it's for us to clear it
For
out
us.
before we get the water going.
Yep.
Do we get to use our grant funding for the demolition?
Yes, we do.
That's great. Let's do it.
Yep.
Check that box.
Yep.
Plus, it's kind of fun to demolish.
So,
It is.
What a guy.
Testosterone poison.
That first wall that comes down, the rest just follows through.
I don't know if under maintenance, this is something, but I know that Linda was looking to work with
Yeah.
Robinson, and that's when I wanted to see if she would go to that meeting as well to
Oh,
talk
great.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't get a chance to ask her yet, but maybe we can.
That'd be
invite
great.
her for the-
I
for
think
the
she'd love to do
meeting.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's out on levee patrol right now. But yes.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We're gonna move on to Army Corps of Engineers, update on ACE validation study. I haven't been able to make it to their last meeting or their last two meetings. So, Jordan, I figured this is yours.
Let's see. I don't have a whole lot of updates for them. They are still on track for the validation study. There was a pipeline question that we were asked about a 48-inch pipeline that was not in the original drawings that has recently shown up in their new drawings. So we're not really sure what that is, and they're not sure what it is.
Pipeline.
Yeah,
We
Some-
actually want the water to meander in open surface water form.
it like
not-
runs along where the levee is.
And it's currently there, or it's where they're
It's
planning?
not.
to?
It looks like it was like, somebody was like, let's put this pipeline in, but I'm
But I
not.
thought they were supposed to be looking at what they already did before they started adding
Yes.
things.
So I'm not sure. There is a little confusion on that.
PG&E a sticking point for them still at this point in time? I know they were asking about what does the PG&E road access look like? Is it gonna be another levee in the middle of all this? Is it gonna be a wooden structure that's installed where water can flow underneath?
That's still a question.
So I would suggest if everyone agrees here, we did allocate $200,000 for PG&E to design what their needs are for the distribution and transmission line. I know I told Scott when we passed it that it would be at mid-year budget, that we would kind of finalize where that money was going to be allocated from, whether it was going to be from cannabis or other places. If I'm correct, it was something along those lines.
So how much?
$200,000, because PG&E, I think it's just their status quo. This is how much it cost you to ask me for a design of a certain size. So it was $100,000 for distribution lines and $100,000 for transmission line to start the design.
Okay,
Overall, I think they said the cost of moving everything would be $7.5 million, if I remember correctly. So maybe asking Scott that after our mid-year budget to maybe initiate discussions with PG&E to start initiating their design process so we can have a little bit more concrete design ideas to submit to the Army Corps.
and mid-year budget is the end of the year.
No, mid-year budget is Tuesday.
That's, that's the other budget, yeah.
I
What's the
recall
beginning?
in,
Is this a July 1 beginning budget?
No, this is mid-year budget review of this current 23-24.
Okay,
In June, we will initiate the 24-25 that does start on July 1st.
That's right, and then we finalize in September.
In September.
okay.
Yes.
I have not been a part of PG&E conversations, but I remember somebody saying along the line that PG&E wanted money to even begin their design.
And we allocated the $200,000, so
Great.
we should be good. It was a matter of, let's just wait, because we wanted to ensure that we were using the right buckets of money.
Okay,
So that should be finalized on Tuesday. I'll make sure of that in my discussions today. So if everything is good and we get the green light on Tuesday, then I think it would be the opportunity for Scott to initiate those conversations or the
So-
department to initiate those discussions with PG&E.
okay.
So this will be at the Board of Supervisors meeting?
Yeah, we have an overall mid-year budget for the entire county agency, and a part of that will be to finalize,
Is this a discussion item?
oh, yeah, it's wide open.
Would you like people to come?
If you would like, I can't stop anybody from coming.
But with the,
You'll probably be the only one. Most people are a little shy to come to a budget hearing because there's so much information. It's hard to know where to put yourself.
I'm
But
just asking, is there any point?
I would say for this one specifically, no.
Okay,
We've already approved as a board that we want to allocate the 200. It would just be a finalizing of where exactly it comes from, but it's not gonna not appear because it's already been approved by the board that we want to support
Okay.
doing this.
because I have people I can mobilize if we ever need them.
Let's save that for a rain check.
Okay.
For something a little bit more controversial.
Okay.
And Scott, do you have any comments on that? Disagreements, agreements?
No disagreement. You're absolutely right. We needed to go through the mid-year budget process to create that appropriation. And once that's done, I think all it is a simple application to PG&E, and yeah, they wanted money. So we can actually get started on that and start being prepared to request a check and get that taken care of and get that submitted as soon as it's approved tomorrow.
And the last people that we spoke with was, I want to say Jim Kelly, but I feel like I'm thinking of the Buffalo Bills quarterback. I thought the guy's last name from PG&E was Kelly that we spoke to.
The one in like 2019.
Yeah,
His
I
last
mean-
name was Kelly.
it could have changed, but I would say start with what's on the letter. I don't know who, PG&E has had a revolving door of people right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly who that contact would be, but
I remember because we had that, I was in my office.
yeah, I went low on sugar. It was a great thing.
Did he come? He came to us, right?
Yeah, he did. Came and met with us. It was embarrassing. Sweating bullets, just mumbling. Some days are better than others.
See, we get you on a good day.
So since we're on ACE, I did want to mention something, and I just want to mention it, and I don't know how to work on this, but I kind of spoke a little bit to EJ about it. I know I spoke to Scott about it, and it was interesting. Jim Steele sent me a video to watch about the lake, to learn about the lake. I was really proud. I know most of what was already talked about on there. It was a presentation he did at Paradigm College in
Yeah.
2019, I think it was actually. And in there, he talks about the amount of silt and the amount of nutrients that comes through the Middle Creek, especially Rodman Slough, to the point that it's almost creating like a little bit of an island right as you enter the lake. And he was talking about, you know, the Middle Creek restoration is absolutely the best thing that we can do to reduce algae, reduce nutrient load, because it's all about nitrogen and phosphorus. But at the same time, he mentioned, but if you don't solve the silt and nutrient load problem coming out of I believe he mentioned the national forest or out of the hillside over there. When I spoke to Scott De Leon, he was talking about more about Scotts Valley Creek or Scotts Creek, that is a lot more filled with soils and nutrients and things like that, but that it would fill up the Middle Creek restored area and actually kill the project maybe 100 years from now after we create it. But like there would be this oncoming onslaught of nutrients. And until we fix what's coming down, Middle Creek is a great idea that eventually will just get shut down and clogged up by all of this load that keeps coming. And so I don't want to change what the Army Corps is working on, because I'd hate for them to go, oh, well, let's expand the scope and start all over. But at the same time, I want us to be mindful that there's interconnectivity to more than just that area that we're looking at. And that at one point, probably sooner than later, we should start maybe expanding this group's perspective. And I'm going to say something Scott said, and I don't know that he will like it or not, but he gave kudos to Betsy Kahn for saying, you guys need to have a Scotts Creek restoration program, just like you have the Middle Creek. And he said, that's where the majority of your stuff is coming from. And she's right. So I don't know how we work on that, but I just want us to be mindful that there are still going to be issues that we probably need to start taking care of and paying attention to, rather than just being pat on the back, Middle Creek, woo. There's a whole lot more to it.
Harry and I initiated discussions several years ago with NRCS of, to me, we need Thule's and Thule Lake. When they converted that to rice paddies, they were very efficient at taking out all of the tubers, which is why it's not doing it on its own. I know Corinne did some planting, but that was at the beginning of the drought, so they died. But and now her replacement, Erica Lundquist, who is fabulous. I mean, we can work with, whenever Corinne had extra money, or like the Land Trust got an EQIP grant that we decided we didn't want to use because we didn't want to graze the Mellow Preserve. So if she has that kind of money left over at the end of the fiscal year, she was putting it into Thule's to put in Thule Lake, and maybe restarting that, because the whole reason we talked to Corinne about it was exactly a pre-filter for Middle Creek. That was the whole genesis of that discussion. So now that Corinne's left, I'll bring it up to Erica.
We are hopefully getting a grant from WCB that Thule Lake and Scotts Creek. There's a study kind of involved in this grant. It's primarily looking at barriers, but part of barriers is understanding the hydrology and flow through there. And every time that Angela and I have been out there, we've seen a lot of Thule tubers, and that's great, but I agree, it does need some restoration to help with filtration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because if we could get that back to full of Thule's, that's a significant filtration before it gets to Middle Creek.
I know the Army Corps of Engineers is looking into sediment runoff for this project specifically.
As in the oncoming
Yes.
sediment runoff?
Yes.
Okay.
The Blue Ribbon Commission early on did a tour up there, and they put in, and they've been doing a lot of measuring of sediment.
Yeah, they're monitoring the sediment.
So I don't have a plan at this moment in time, but I think we do need to end up with a plan to make sure that we work in parallel. And I think part of that plan is maybe meeting with BLM, because some of that nutrient load is probably coming from Cow Mountain and other areas where there's off-highway vehicle use. And figuring out what are they doing? I mean, when you do construction, when you do agriculture, there's so many new laws on how to really limit the soil runoff from the work you're doing. Well, this is happening on a daily basis in some of our off-highway vehicle areas. What's BLM doing to use those same types of protections and barriers to try and protect our streams, which is both healthier for the hitch and healthier for the lake, all combined. So I think that we can get some movement on that. And I think that starting at the highest of the elevations and slowly coming on down rather than starting on the bottom
Right.
and moving on up. Because if we don't fix the higher elevations and the runoff from there, we're just gonna work on something at the bottom, ground level right there in Scotts Valley. But there's a reason Scotts Valley has all of the soils and nutrients.
So,
So that's just my thought process. It's not very specific, but I think that we do need to start engaging in those conversations.
is Angela, and to me, she's a force.
Yeah.
And, she's on the technical subcommittee
Yes.
for the Blue Ribbon, and every year they're looking for projects to advocate for funding for.
I think that BLM is also doing a sediment runoff study on the Scotts Valley side. I'm trying to look through my notes to find that, but I think it's in a different whole thing.
I don't want to add it to this group because we're very specific, especially
Yeah.
since we were tasked by the board of supervisors to do this group.
Right.
It's very specific to Middle Creek. Now, granted, if it's because of the runoff that affect Middle Creek, maybe it does fit, but I also don't want to make us lose the focus of what the group is supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't mind doing this outside of the group. I just wanted to mention it because I thought it was interesting information that seemed very logical and legitimate to me, and I wanted to bring it up, see what we're doing, and maybe if it's possible to bring us all of the activities related to Scotts Valley so that we're more aware of what we can support outside of this committee to ensure that those things are happening, because I'm not aware of everything that's happening.
Who is aware?
I would say Water Resources has at least a good knowledge of it. They may not be aware of everything, but
Yeah.
at least I think they would be the point of contact for that level of information.
Yes, and just to build a little bit more on that, we do stormwater sampling in the streams that are tributaries to the Middle Creek project. And we do not see a lot of sediment, a lot of total suspended solids. When we started the stream stormwater sampling, it was because of one of the Mendocino Complex fire, I believe. And Angela had seen like the most turbidity that she's ever seen before, and we've never seen that ever since then. It's not that high, which kind of just shows a little bit of evidence that maybe the runoff is not as bad as people think, but
I think it
Still-
depends the weather.
Yeah.
sure.
Here's my picture.
But
I was gonna say-
sampling in storms, like, right, so we're sampling right at the beginning of a runoff period.
So that's my picture of Burns Valley Creek.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You can
totally.
see the entire brown plume that
Mhm.
comes out
I
of Burns
have
Valley
many
Creek.
Images.
And I'm
Real-
sure it's the same for Middle Creek.
Yeah.
From what I
You
understand.
can see that runoff through Rodman.
Yeah.
But also part of that is turbulence within the lake because it's a shallow area and rainwater and wind is stirring that up. As opposed to like deeper areas, not able to go down as deep, but yeah, worth the study, worth looking into.
Yeah, worth the discussion. So I'll leave it at that for ACE. We'll figure out the PG&E. The next item is PG&E. We kind of already discussed it because of ACE, very related. Let's wait till Tuesday. I'll make sure in my conversations I have today, EJ, that is part of, I didn't see it on there. I don't, unless I'm mistaken. But I didn't see it on there specifically identified that money will be coming from different buckets for PG&E, for Middle Creek.
In our budget.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it, but I could be mistaken. So I'll have those conversations to make sure we'll be done by Tuesday. And then afterwards, let's initiate those conversations and see where we go. So I think item 9 is good. Item 10, legislative updates. Any updates?
Do not.
So I know that we used to get quarterly reports and submitting those to our representatives, both federally and state representatives, federal representatives. Not sure when the last quarterly was, or if
did it.
there's, or if, oh, you just did it?
I
Is
just
it
did it.
possible to send that to EJ and I? We'll make sure to,
Yes,
unless you want to forward it to them, it doesn't have to be from us.
to,
Aguirre Curry, Mike McGuire, and
you guys can do that.
Mike Thompson.
You guys can do that.
But I mean,
I'm
Mike
just waiting
Thompson,
on,
You guys are,
it's true,
you
we're
guys are
buddies.
buds now.
Well.
De Leon needs to sign the most recent quarterly report, and then it will be sent to DWR, and I'll send it to you guys. Yeah,
Perfect.
The WCV grant you're talking about, it's on the agenda tomorrow.
great.
Do we get to see,
I
Perry and
think-
I get to see it too?
The grant, oh, the quarterly report,
Yeah.
sure, I can send it to you guys, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Wild Conservation Board improvement plan, and it's,
Yeah, it's going before their board. It was on consent. It is not, it is getting a presentation now. February 15th. Angela and I are hoping to be there in person to.
For the blue ribbon,
No, this WCB grant that EJ was just talking about.
what's on the 15th?
It's going before WCB's board.
Gotcha.
not us.
Gotcha. Did you say, EJ, sorry, I'm trying to figure out.
It's on our consent at 5:30, not fun,
Oh,
not.
I haven't got,
5:30.
I haven't gotten that far in the consent. Not quite done going through the agenda yet. All right, that explains that. Thank you very much. Next is project funding. I think we kind of discussed that. We have the $200,000 that's set for PG&E. Also, I'm not sure if you're aware, but a while ago, we were very happy that we were able to allocate $800,000 for Middle Creek.
Yeah.
That is actually being spent down as we speak. So that amount has definitely enabled us to do the study review or the validation study and all the other work that's happening. So that's exciting that, I mean, it's money being spent, but it's exciting that we were able to put that money aside, or else maybe that would have been a hindrance to the progress that we're making right now. I don't believe there's any other asks on the table right now. PG&E and Army Corps were the only ones that were requesting money that I'm aware of. And the next one is the one I'm not sure of, which is item number 12, Caltrans. Not sure if they're gonna be asking us for money or not, but I don't know. I know that from listening into the validation study, the ring levy has been thrown out yet again. So that we're back to where we knew we were. And I believe it's some sort of seawall or something that blocks the highway from getting inundated, which would protect Robinson Rancheria. That is in the conversation at this moment. What that means for Caltrans, I don't know. What that means for us for Caltrans, I don't know. But just kind of following that, because until there's a final thing, there's really no conversation to have with Caltrans other than at this moment in time, if there's nothing done, you will have your Highway 20 inundated. But so I'm kind of waiting for the validation to finalize so that we can say this is what's going on. And then we can meet with Caltrans and just tell them that they're part of our project and not ask them how much we need to give them. We'll let them ask if they really have to.
But then the other part of that is the bridge, right?
Oh, yes. And we did mention that during the validation study, which was embarrassing at best because I think it was already mentioned multiple times before. We have to repeat ourselves, but it was mentioned, I believe, by Jordan and then by myself to say, this is where the water's supposed to come out. It's in a different location than where the current bridge is from where Middle Creek goes under. We need to expand the scope to maybe purchase the property south of the Nice Lucerne cutoff and also change it so that there's water that can flow through, which is the only pipeline that I could possibly think of that maybe they would put a pipe underneath the road for it to go through. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's that part that dips down a little.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. And
It's the
so,
part that floods.
but that is not Caltrans, I don't believe, unless Scott corrects me, because that's a county road.
Oh,
It
okay.
is not a highway, so I do not know if Caltrans would be involved. I do know he does go through Caltrans. I don't know if it's approvals or stuff when he does bridge construction. And that's typically not on the highway, so I don't know where Caltrans would fit in for the Nice Lucerne. Scott would be able to tell us. But we're not even close to that, but it is on the new study, the validation study.
So that's
So that's
radar.
Yeah.
Yes. And design is on the radar for Hitch as well, which is nice.
Oh, good.
Very good. Please.
All right, now, I remember some money from Thompson. Was it 750,000 or was it 75,000?
I believe it was 750.
It was,
Yeah.
it
And it
was,
was for getting the feasibility study for our project. Is that money not being used for the validation? So when do we hit that money and who do we see to use that money? It was connected to Middle Creek.
It was
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah,
it was an earmark.
So I know that it's taken a long time just to receive those funds. And I'm wondering if we have received those funds, number one. And number two, if maybe we needed to start paying to move things forward prior to receiving those funds. So maybe they're still separate somewhere. I think either Jordan or Scott would know best.
I don't, that was Marina before him, but that's when we met. Mike Thompson was for that picture.
Yeah.
Didn't he give you the big check?
Yep.
Scott told me that.
I
didn't
have the big
take it,
check.
'cause Scott's already on a red flag list at the bank, trying to, cash those. But as you know, the big check is a very photo op
Yeah.
material. The actuality of receiving the money, I'm not sure if we have. Again, if Scott has a comment, that would be helpful, but if he doesn't, then it'd be nice to find out when we have our next meeting, as to where that money is, and do we pay ourselves back for using the money that we currently have allocated? That money was meant to be used for.
Yeah, because originally we saw the 800 as the design.
Yeah,
And then it's good that it's being used. But I'm wondering if there's money from Thompson that's available. That's my word.
I held a big check.
Yeah,
We offered to add some zeros, but it was 750.
good. So I get this zero and good.
We wanted a zero and a comma.
Yeah. We tried. You don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah,
Pay for effort.
okay, good, thank you.
Now, appreciate the question, because I had forgotten. So
Oh,
many
yeah.
things happened that I just,
Because when he said it, I was like, wait, we just took pictures.
Yeah.
And we asked when it would be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long ago was the picture?
2 months ago, 3
Yeah.
months ago.
Late October, early November.
Yep.
Halloween.
Any comments from anybody on this? Board members? Moving on to public expression, any public person wish to express themselves on any of the, and I apologize, I didn't really open up for public expression on each one of the items, so I will let you speak on any of the items as well as anything not on the agenda related to Middle Creek restoration.
Doesn't look like anybody's coming off mute.
Okay. And we have no non-timed items. Our next meeting is scheduled to be right here,
Is it?
same place.
So, I wasn't here at this last meeting, the previous meeting, and, there were some suggested times from last meeting.
Are we doing it at your town hall? Is that where the one in Upper Lake would be?
Yeah, I could get that set up.
What was that the intent? Was that the town hall area?
I think that's what.
I wasn't sure,
We talked about Rodman, but what we discovered during the board retreat is we need to up how much we pay for internet. We don't have enough bandwidth, so.
And
Thank
we
you.
have direct access over
What's
the
that?
town hall.
Right, we do, yeah, so we'd be able to do all this there, because we do with our Worth meetings there.
is this the Hub Emmett Town?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
The one right on Main Street in Upper Lake.
Okay, is that?
Good size, good.
You want to
room.
coordinate? Do you want me to?
We can both,
Okay.
what I'll do is just get a hold of Tony and then
Okay.
connect him with you. And
Great, perfect.
Linda used to work there too, so she
Yeah.
might have some.
And we just talked to him for our flood fight training.
Yeah, but I'll reach out to him
Okay.
first and then send, however.
Yeah, you're all set.
Sounds
April Fool's.
good. I'll keep this up then for
Day of the year.
future meetings as well, so we all remember.
Yes,
where we're
good.
meeting.
So I'm gonna change it that our next meeting, and actually I would like a motion, just because right now on our calendar, on our thing, it says, right here in Lakeport. If I can get a motion that our next meeting will be April 1st at 10:30 a.m. in Upper Lake at the, Abematol Town Hall.
9470 Main Street,
994.
Main Street.
Well, I so move.
A second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So that will be our next meeting and we are adjourned.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Wait, do things.
See what happens when no one in the chair? No, I think, we